Welcome, welcome. If I could all have your attention, please. It's so wonderful to see so many lovely, beautiful, colourful clothing on this lovely summer's day. My name's Mark Desvaux. I'm a parishioner here at the church, and I'd say a long-time friend of Andrew's now. I'm going to be your MC for this afternoon as we get into the formalities of today. There'll be an opportunity for an open mic, and we would like to encourage as many people as possible to come up and say a few words. And due to the number of people we have, and we obviously have a limited time, and remembering that Andrew wants to speak at the end as well, so we have to leave a few minutes for that, right, Andrew? Maybe a couple. But so we'll get into those formalities. But before we start, Andrew would like to come up to do the land greeting, please.
Thank you, Mark, and thank you everyone for being here in such colour and splendour. I see people who've travelled from across the world, and I acknowledge Paul and Marilyn who've come from New Zealand. My brother Tim has come from Scotland, so for those who've travelled great distance, can we give a little appreciation? There's a lot more thank yous for me to say later, but let me start really by acknowledging that we gather on the lands and watersheds, and that we honour the languages of this place that is sacred. And over many years, the Anglican community, the Anglican Diocese of BC, has come to see the world in a different way and restyled itself as the people of the islands and inlets, and that we gather on the unceded territories of the Kwakwaka'wakw, New Channels, and the Coast Salish peoples. We honour the languages with which the people of this land have conversed over millennia. And so I say to everyone, Gila Kashla, welcome. I say to you all, Kleko Kleko, thank you for being here. And I say to you, Haish Sipka, thank you. It's such an honour to gather. We gather on the lands of the Pentlach and Hulkaminam speaking peoples, forebears of the Qualcomm and Snanawas First Nations. It was in this very building 6 years ago that Bishop Logan went on as part of his walk of penance and reconciliation for the ways that we have done harm over decades and more, hundreds of years, that we need to begin a new relationship. And we had a feast in this place with Chief Michael and with Barbara and Patty from the Snanawas First Nation. And Bishop Logan asked, could we do our sacred ceremonies on your land? Could we come in the way we didn't come in the first time? And we were accepted into a new way of being here. So we honour these tradition of millennia. We honour our ancestors. There are two ancestors that I would like to honour out in this churchyard. Sarah Kukulamat, who was a Coast Salish widow. And in 1894, she and Thomas Kincaid, who was an Irish rover who anchored down at the Qualicum Bay, were married in Salish ceremony, and they came up here to the priest at the brand new building of St. Anne's and said, could we get married in ceremony here too? So the first wedding in this place was a union of the First Nations and a Roman Catholic settler in an Anglican church. So my hope for our future, is that we can continue to walk together in unity and harmony, and that we can rebuild as we repent of harm that we have done on this land that is so beautiful and so rich and steep in history. And with those words, I will pass it back to Mark for the next step.
Thank you very much, Andrew. And as I said earlier, we'll be hearing more from Andrew towards the end of the formalities. So just to begin with, I thought I'd dig up some dirt on Andrew and his history. And where better to start than St. Anne's, Aldermere, French Creek, BC, a centennial history, 1894. That's not when Andrew was born, by the way, to 1994. And in there is a rather fetching photo, which I almost didn't recognise, Andrew, but different colour hair and a lovely smile. And I'll leave this at the back of the room, where actually there is if you haven't seen it, there is actually a lovely book there that you can sign it to leave a message for Andrew, which I know will be a beautiful memento of this special occasion with all of you here. So please do remember to do that before you leave. So let's find out a bit about Andrew's history. Andrew joined the parish as Kim, and this was the Reverend Dr. Kim Murray, as a ministerial assistant in 1993. So we're talking, by my maths, almost 30 years, which is an incredible length of time that Andrew's been serving here. Andrew grew up and attended school in Liverpool, England, and studied at Glasgow University, where he took degree in biblical languages, Hebrew, Greek, and Latin. And if any of you have ever been to any of Andrew's services, you'll know that love of languages has always come through and has been such a foundation of everything he's taught. And I, for one, who struggles to even just learn French, have no idea how you do that. It's quite incredible. I know Andrew actually has read the original text, I believe, of the Bible in its original format as well, to understand at its truest sense what was written, which is absolutely amazing. Andrew then received his master's and classics at the University of Victoria, and then taught theology and biblical languages in Vancouver's Regent College between 1985 and 1990. And at that stage, when Andrew was joining us here, he was studying for ordination at the Vancouver School of Theology. Andrew also has a degree in music. Surprisingly, I don't know how that came about. His talents for music has been probably one of the most wonderful gifts that we've received as a parish, and for anyone else who's ever been around Andrew when he's anywhere near any kind of musical instrument, I think there's almost a whole orchestra of different instruments that he can play, which is just incredible. And then moving forward to kind of the present day. So Andrew became the parish, the leader of this parish, and he works as an Anglican priest, teacher, writer, speaker, and musician. The contemplative and mystic traditions of the West have influenced Andrew since his youth, and has set really the tone for his leadership and the versatility that he had in his style. And if anyone's ever been, as many of you will have done, to any of Andrew's services, they really are unique experiences. For someone who's travelled through many different churches in the world, I've fully appreciated the incredible wisdom that Andrew shared with us every Sunday, and the fact that so many people were so fully engaged every service is testament to the power of Andrew's word that in many ways would often come through him inspirationally in the moment as well, which I found a really amazing thing to just be feeling the services and the sermons. And Andrew, as for many of you may or may not know, Andrew has a rather fascination with the game of Scrabble. For anyone who's ever tried to play him at Scrabble, they'll also know that he's pretty good at it. And back in 2014, Andrew travelled on a form of pilgrimage, I'd say, returning to Glasgow to play in the Commonwealth Scrabble tournament, which was an experience and a half. And he did quite well in it, if I remember rightly. Had some pretty crazy opponents, but it's actually, again, a testament to his interest in languages, words, and it has the most incredible lexicon. There's not really one word, I don't think, in the English language that Andrew probably can't tell the history of and where it originally came from. Andrew's also a veteran supporter of the work of Richard Rohr, and had a huge influence in the local kind of programming of the Centre of Action and Contemplation. Many of you may have been on retreats that Andrew's been organising and been a part of over the years at the Bethlehem Centre, and also within the church as well during the week when there were study groups and the like. And this has been a real common thread through Andrew's entire vocation in the work that he does, which has been so broad and such a giving of himself to so many different people in so many different areas as well. So, folks, on that note, we have a few messages that we're going to read out from people that couldn't make it. But is there anyone who would dare to be the first person who would like to come up and tell us a short anecdote or a story or just some words to Andrew on this very, very special retirement? Do I see anyone who's willing to make that first step? I'm going to have to do an auction here. Please come up, Julia. Thank you.
For those of you who don't know me, my name's Julia MacDonald, Rector's Warden, and I've been involved in this church for a long, long time, before Andrew's time. And what was really exciting was that Andrew was prepared to, one of the things, prepared to allow us to have services in St. Anne's, alternating with St. Edmund's, because a lot of people really liked being in St. Anne's, even though it's small, but it's the heritage that matters. And I asked for my husband, who died not long ago, to have his ashes brought here, so that the service could be held here, and Andrew agreed with doing that for me, and he was actually visited my husband quite a few times, didn't you, Andrew, in the hospital, which was really wonderful for John. He was excited when I went to see him, and he told me that Andrew had been. And I was so pleased. So he's a very caring individual, as well as very, very clever, and is a wonderful preacher. So I've been very much appreciative of all my time with him. And thank you, Andrew.
Thank you, Julia.
That was absolutely lovely. Thank you so much, Julia. And thank you as well for being the daring individual that broke the duct and joined me up here. Do I have any other takers? Who would like to come up next to say a few words to or about Andrew? Who would like to start next? Anyone? Anyone? Come on, there must be more than one person that would like to say. Come on up.
Thanks, Mark. Hi, I'm Alan Naylor. I'm actually a retired Anglican priest, so it's great to welcome Andrew into the ranks of retired clergy. But over many years, Andrew and I have been to diocesan and clergy events, and Andrew's always been a great presence in the sense of collegiality with all of the other clergy. Played the organ and piano and many other instruments at different clergy events, and we always appreciated that. I wanted to pick up on Andrew's Scrabble playing. I actually did a little bit of research, and not just Andrew, but Sandy as well appear in the, let me get this right, the North American Scrabble Association, something like that. They are both rated, and there are scores. Thank you. And I understand that event, that Commonwealth event in Scotland, Andrew actually represented Canada and they won bronze, right? Yeah, very good. So I got to thinking about playing Scrabble and wondered if I had 6 tiles which spelled A-N-D-R-E-W, what kind of word I could make from that. And the sort of the highest scoring word I came up with was warden. Now I know the church has an official position called the warden, who are very hardworking and provide great ministry to the parish. But in the greater sense of the word warden, one who takes care of things, it's a great word to describe Andrew's ministry and his presence in this community for so many years. He's taken care of so many things around here and so many people. I can't tell you how many people I've met and been told about how Andrew cared for them through a significant life event. But of course, Andrew is only 6 letters, and you're allowed to have 7 letters in Scrabble. So I thought, okay, what about Andrew T? And the best word I could come up with there was ardent. Someone who is passionate about things. And of course, that's another perfect word to describe Andrew, the passionate warden, the ardent warden. Over the years, Andrew has shown great passion for so many movements and ideas. Just to name a few, I remember some years back, Andrew talking very ardently about the Charter for Compassion. I think he went to the Parksville Town Council, maybe Qualicum as well, and to other organizations encouraging people to sign on to the Compassion Charter. I think of Andrew's great passion for the truth and reconciliation commitment that the church has made in these islands and inlets. His great ardor for St. Anne's and the history and all of the pioneer families whose ancestors are buried here. So I give you Andrew, the ardent warden, and I wish you every blessing, Andrew, in your retirement.
That was such a lovely tribute. Thank you so much. We do have some messages as well. Whilst you're all thinking about what you're going to say when you come up next, we have a lovely message actually from Gord Johns, who sent a message. Unfortunately, he couldn't be here today, but this is what he said. He said, "Greetings to all who are gathered in Parksville in the territory of the Coast Salish people to celebrate the retirement of my friend, Reverend Andrew Twiddy. I regret that my schedule does not allow me to attend in person, although I'm certainly with you all in spirit. I have known Andrew for several years and join with the entire community to thank him for his relentless commitment to helping the most vulnerable of our fellow citizens. His hard work and diligence are known to the entire community, and he will be greatly missed. I believe the words of Muhammad Ali are appropriate on this occasion. Service to others is the rent you pay for your room here on earth. Thank you for making a difference in the lives of so many, Andrew, and best wishes for a wonderful retirement." So that's from Gord Johns, Member of Parliament for Courtenay, Albertney. So who wants to follow that up? Have we got any other takers? Who would like to come up and say a few words about Andrew? Thank you. Please come up.
Good afternoon, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Leonard Krogh. I'm currently the mayor of Nanaimo, but a former resident of this area. I first, too, want to recognize we're gathered on the traditional territory of the Salish First Nation. And I must admit, having just arrived and listened to the kind remarks, I have been led here under false pretenses. I understood this section of the afternoon was supposed to be a roast. I'll first begin by recognizing the presence of so many local politicians, including your MLA, Adam Walker, and members of Parksville and Qualicum Council. It always says nice things about somebody when it's not an election year and the politicians come out to greet you. You know it's quite sincere. Let us begin with his name. For heaven's sakes, he couldn't get a proper, decent name like my grandmother's maiden name, Twiddy, which no one would have any trouble pronouncing because it was spelled properly. He comes to us with this queer spelling and this queer pronunciation, but what do you expect of the English after all? I must admit he's probably suffered a while in his position doing the Lord's work because, as we all know, the smaller the organization, the more vicious the politics. They call parishioners a flock, which would indicate sheep, but we know that's not true. And looking at the smiling faces of those who've been active in the church locally, I know I hit home with that one. I must admit, is Bishop McNamee here? No, he should be, because I'm going to give him a bit of criticism. I see Pearl here. The last time I was in the presence of the distinguished bishop was for the celebration of life of that much beloved and famous British Columbian Bishop Remy DeRue. And I, of course, had the decency to show up in a shirt and tie and properly dressed. Your Anglican bishop, that heart of conservatism, after all, you do know that the New Democratic Party is accused of being how shall I say, the Anglican Church at prayer, and the Conservative Party, of course, is the Anglican Church's prayer in a different way, but actually the United Church is the NDP. He showed up in shorts and a golf shirt. So I just want you to know I'm setting the fashion trend following the good bishop of the Anglican Church. Andrew had the decency to show up properly dressed today in accordance with his status. 50 years ago, September 15th, my wife and I were married just across the way, a few tombstones and a short walk at St. Anne's. It wasn't me. It wasn't, yes, I want to be very clear. It was for those of you who've been here a while. Does anyone remember Jim Davenport? One parishioner, Richard Holbeach, grew up in Coombs, another Coombs boy. Andrew, what does one say to someone who's about to embark on retirement? As you told me the last time we were here for the celebration of life for Jim Dingsdale, when I'm 64. Yeah. Well, as an older fellow, somewhat than you, I'm conscious of the fact that you'll probably be around for my celebration of life, and so you will have a full chance to respond to anything I've said that may irk and disturb you today. So I perhaps will be reluctant to go entirely over the top as we do this. But it is a challenging job being a minister. It is a challenging job, and it is challenging for your spouse and your family if you have them, and there is no question about it. You are one of those people who can be called upon any time of the day to minister to the needs of your parishioners. It is a calling. It is something that builds community and sustains community, and this community in particular has been very fortunate to have you present, these many years. And I'm told that the concept is a sort of semi-retirement in the Madeira Islands. For those of you old enough to remember, I don't think he's going there for the wine necessarily, but it would certainly be a highlight for me. So to you, for those of us who've known you for a while, whether we were parishioners or not here, just have a wonderful time. Enjoy the rest of that. You have earned your retirement. The presence of so many smiling faces here today, including Reverend Foster Freed, the United Church is here. Retired, always being very modest in the background.
No, I arrived late. Just being polite.
Well, at least you're not late in the permanent sense, so that's a good thing. There's nothing wrong with arriving late, but you're judged by the company you bring out to an event like this. And so in that sense, you receive the ultimate compliment today by the presence of so many. Do well in retirement, the two of you. Enjoy it. Live life to the fullest as you possibly can, having regard to your advancing years now. And just remember, there'll always be another tomorrow and another parish should you decide to change your mind and discover that retirement's not all it's cracked up to be. Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Leonard, for those lovely words. Absolutely brilliant. And Leonard actually raised a really amazing part of what we often don't see behind the life of a minister, and those are the calls in the middle of the night, the weddings on the weekend, and all of the unnoticed things that happen in the life. It's a very, very unconventional job. And I know there are many people whose lives have been touched as families when they've gone through difficult times, and also times of celebration. And to be someone that can swing between almost on a daily basis, weddings and then funerals, and everything in between, it's quite an incredible gift that Andrew has given. And I think it's something that we should acknowledge right in this moment, for all of those late night calls, the many texts, the emails, the visits to homes, the visits to families and friends. So Andrew, thank you so much for all of those over the years. Now, do we have anyone else that would like to come up and say a few words? Perfect.
Well, I'm just going to make a quick little comment on Andy here. I'm not that good with memorization, so I just jotted down a couple things, but so I'll just read this off. I have come to know Andy as a family friend, but outside of a connection with the church. He has always struck me as a kind and generous character who shares my love for being out in nature. I was also intrigued by his family connection to the mapping of this coast, going all the way back to the days of Captains Vancouver and Cook. Andy seems to carry on the spirit of traveling and exploring himself. Enjoy your retirement, Andy.
Thank you so much. And for those of you who have ever been to Andrew's house, there is a map on the wall of one of your ancestors. And that ancestor was?
Yeah, that's Joseph Baker. And
Joseph
Parish
Baker.
Council, thank you for the gift of a map replica as well in antique form. It's beautiful.
Brilliant. So there's quite a incredible history and link to Andrew's family as well, going all the way back to the cartography and mapping of Vancouver Island and surrounding areas. And if you ever get a chance to see those artifacts and maps, it's quite fascinating, but it's so much rich history connected with here. Now we do have a video message, and you know what that means, folks. That means technology. And you know what they say about technology and animals and kids? You shouldn't work with them, but we're going to give it a go. So this is a message from Jonathan Lloyd, who's outside of Wells Cathedral in England.
Hi Andrew, Jonathan here from the city of Wells in the country called England. And I'm standing in front of Wells Cathedral, which is where I'm connected to. That west front was built in the year 1240. The cathedral was started in 1180. Our diocese is just over 1,000 years old. All very young, of course, compared to the First Nations in the great place I also call home, which is Canada. Well, on this occasion of your retirement, Andrew, I just wanted to send a message to say thank you for our friendship over many years. We first met in 2001 in Santa Fe, New Mexico, on a Richard Raw retreat for 150 men. And I remember the first time we met, and we've been good friends ever since. Meeting in Parksville, in West Vancouver, in Madeira, in Assisi, in Hillfield Friary, in Dorset. Different continents, different places, but also always in the same spirit of Franciscan solidarity and brotherhood and sisterhood. So on this special occasion of your retirement from 25 or 30 years at Parksville, Our prayers are with you on that day, and may God bless you richly as you move into the next phase. Remember that retirement is retiring, putting on new tyres, and may your snow tyres take you to new and creative places, as I know they will, with your wonderful music, your wonderful linguistics with Hebrew and Greek, your spirituality beyond borders, your friendship, your compassion, your hope, your faith in God. So thank you, Andrew. I thank God for your ministry, and may he richly, or she too, richly bless you in the next stage of your ministry. And greetings to all at Parksville, greetings to Sandy, and hope to see you somewhere again soon, on this side of the Atlantic or on yours. God bless.
What a lovely message, and it's starting to feel like the Oscars now, isn't it, folks? We've got a live video, well, not live, but pre-recorded. Absolutely brilliant. And it brings up actually the other question. When you think about all of the different things that Andrew has done over the years, so many things outside of the parish, which is the extended ministry in the surrounding areas as well. It's quite incredible to think of all the different areas of life that Andrew has touched, and I think it's a real blessing in many ways to have somebody that's so open to going out. I mean, the idea of spirituality without borders being very, very relevant. This idea that there are no borders and Andrew will travel. And following up from that message, this idea of what is retirement? What is retirement? Because someone like Andrew, I don't think will ever officially retire. I like to think of it as a transition. It's a transition to a new stage of life where there'll be new doors opening, more green lights, and all kinds of opportunities for Andrew to explore his fascination with this life and beyond. So I'm for one, I know everyone else here is obviously deeply sad that Andrew is ending his time here with us, but we're also incredibly excited. And one of my mantras is, what might happen? Well, we're all looking forward to finding out. And no doubt we will find out as well. So this is one area that we're going to be able to celebrate with Andrew as he moves on, and Sandy in their kind of new part and transition of their life. Now, anyone else like to come up? Please. Thank you. We've got about another 10 or 15 minutes of the open mic, and then we'll be getting to some formal presentations.
Thank you. Well, I'm so glad that I do have 10 or 15 minutes. I really need a little bit more time, but I don't think all of us have that much time left, although, a lot of us have white hair, but we still have a lot of time left. So Andrew does too. You mentioned, Mark, some of Andrew's work is spirituality beyond borders. I happen to have been, and still am, a founding member with Andrew in that, as was our late friend Remy Desvaux. Sometimes we forget the things that pastors, ministers do, not only in their own community, in their religious tradition, but we forget that they also are into a much larger call, and that is towards unity, towards joy, towards justice and mercy. And Andrew has been a marvelous example of what a Christian is, not just an Anglican or a Catholic or United Church person, but really a Christian who wants to carry that message of hope, not only to our young people, but to all of us, regardless of who we are, where we live, what we do, what our gender is. It's just a whole inclusive piece. And so, as someone who, sometimes I yell out too much, as someone who has retired 4 times, I have a lot of set of tires. Some of them are still somewhere in a garage or a basement somewhere. But each one of those retirements brings so much joy and adventure and possibilities. and a satisfaction, I think, that we're all working towards something greater and much bigger than ourselves. And Andrew, I have always appreciated that part of you that calls people to wash one another's feet. I very much appreciate that. And one of the things that I'm really going to miss is, you know, we've all had hugs from Andrew. And it's like, I mean, I love to dance, and a hug from Andrew is like he stands over you and blesses you and just has that moment of quiet to say how wonderful you are, how happy I am to see you. So I hope that as you journey, that as you age, but never grow old, that you will just keep those movements of dance and inclusion coming through you to not only your family and your friends, but to the entire world, and even those areas beyond the borders. Thank you.
What a lovely tribute, Pearl. Thank you so much. And as you're probably, many of you are aware, the work that Pearl and Andrew and Remy have done locally with Spirituality Beyond Borders has been quite transformational for many people who've attended the retreats in Nanaimo, the Bethlehem Centre, and the programs that they've run as well. And that is a kind of a legacy very much which Andrew's created with so many other amazing people that have brought their wisdom and love and hugs to everyone who's been there. So thank you so much for reminding us of the importance of all of that. Now, we don't have much time left, folks. I'm going to start using the eBay mentality now to see who I can get up in the last few minutes. So do we have anyone else? Please. Thank you. This is Scott from Qualicum Council.
Yeah.
Please take the mic.
Thanks, Mark, and congratulations on the track being done. So we heard earlier about Andrew's compassion, his dedication. I want to speak about a different characteristic through a moment of grace, which I experienced because of his hard work. At the start of my first term, there was a shooting in America at a synagogue. And I remember sitting down with Reverend Twiddy and asking him if we could possibly do something as a region, working together to address this. And he said, okay, I've got some ideas and just leave it with me, I'll get something done. And he did. And about a week later, he had an event at the church where elected officials from around the region came together and lighted a candle. Because for me, when something terrible happens, it's not just the horror of what happened, it's when everyone who knows in their hearts that it's wrong doesn't say anything, doesn't do anything. That's what really hurts if you're one of those people who are targeted. And for us to come together and show that we are with people who've suffered tragedies. There was another time, even before I was elected, I was a nobody, I was just a citizen in Parksville, and there was a shooting at a mosque, and I remember reaching out to every religious leader in their area, and only one actually said they were going to do something, and that was Reverend Twiddy. So, yes, there's a lot of great things to say about this, but what I hope we realize is that Andrew also had a remarkable courage. A courage to do what was right, not because he stood to benefit from it, not because it would in any way make his position easier, but just simply because it was right. And that courage, whether it's providing housing for people who are homeless, reaching out to members of other faiths, it's a leadership we don't always have in this area, and it'll be sorely missed. And I hope that we can look at his leadership, look at his example, and find it within ourselves to lead as well. Because he was trying to make the community a better place, and he succeeded in many instances. And we should try to follow his example where we can. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Scott, and absolutely lovely words, and a reminder to us all about the celebrations of life, but also the tragedies and the hardships that we all have experienced throughout the world, and for Andrew to be, in many cases, the glue to bring people together during hard times. And then there was also that little thing that happened a few years ago, Andrew, wasn't there, called COVID, which was obviously, for a parish trying to keep a ministry going and having to deal with technology and different ways of delivering church services, and Andrew always embraced that, always embraced technology, always has an iPad recording everything that's being said. So this is an absolute wonderful thing as well, that through all these challenging times, there was this glue which happened and kept everything together, and then brings everyone back together as well once we can all rejoin and start to mingle again in society. So that's again testament to all that hard work and for everyone else that went through that in their own vocation and working life. Anyone else like to come up? Mary, please do. Thank you. This is Mary Beale from, former principal of Parksville Elementary and now a member of council.
Yes, thank you. I'd just like to say a couple of words. I've actually known Andrew for many, many years, kind of on the periphery. Our lives intersected, as I say, many years ago. And I also had the pleasure of seeing Andrew then again when I was first elected to council in 2014. And at that time, in his role as Reverend, he spoke to council and had written out something to I would say it was a guide to how he hoped we would be able to conduct ourselves as individual members of council working on behalf of the community. And his words were so inspiring, and they were, and I've mentioned this to them, that I kept those words written. They're written down, and I keep them in my briefcase and pull them out from time to time to have a look, because they really are a guide to helping one stay on that path when there can be forces that want to pull you different ways, and I really thank you for that, and the inspiration that he brings is no surprise, I know, to people here, but he's done that in many different venues, and I know I for one have benefited from that, so thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Any more takers, folks? If you'd like to raise your hand, do come up, please do. Thank you. Oh, we'll do. Yeah, please come up first. And we're all queuing up. You see, it's always what happens, isn't it? And then there's a big queue after.
I'll just be quick. I'm not a member of the church. My wife is active, but all I can say about Andrew, over the past several years, I got to know him. Had many times dinner with him. Tried to play Scrabble with him a couple of times and gave that up. But I just found him to be a great friend, and I just want to thank him for that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
My name's Wally Amer, and I'm a deacon in the Anglican Church. My wife and I and younger son were a member of this congregation 20 years ago, and we left roughly 19 years ago. And all of you, or almost all of you, are long-term friends, have known Andrew for many years, and that's wonderful. Andrew, your life goes beyond that. It goes to people you knew briefly and then left, but you left an impact. You gave them a nudge, you gave them assistance, the butterfly effect. A little change, and then all of a sudden, life goes in very different directions. You were part of my route to ordination. That's changed my life. You've changed many lives. So as much as you celebrate the people here, there's all this and much more. Well done.
Thank you so much. And it wouldn't be Andrew's retirement party without acknowledging his lovely wife, Sandy. Andrew and Sandy have been together for nearly 14 years this summer, I believe. And they have supported each other through incredible journeys. And we, for one, are grateful for you, Sandy, for being there for Andrew for all of this, and Andrew for you being there for Sandy, and especially through the challenges and tribulations of the last few months with injuries and being stuck in Madeira, which sounds awful, but actually it's not. There's worse places you can be stuck, I guess. But I just would like to acknowledge Sandy as well for the role that she's played in supporting Andrew through his vocation. I have no idea what it's like to be married to a minister, but I can imagine it can be challenging at times with schedule or lack of schedules in many cases. So Sandy, thank you so much for everything you've done to support Andrew. Now, folks, we have time for a few quick words, so come on up. It's like The Price is Right, isn't it? Instead of come on down, it's come on up.
I had no idea I was going to speak, but I had to do that.
You're very welcome.
Thank you. Can we just put this down a bit?
Yeah, you just don't.
Okay, that's good. Hello, everybody. My name is Jewel, and I really got to know Andrew through Spirituality Beyond Borders, and he helped me grow so much. It was wonderful. But that's not what I'm coming up here to talk about today. We talked about Andrew's compassion. We talked about his inclusivity. And I bring that up because on January the 6th, 2022, my husband had a MAID death, medical assistance in dying. And when Wayne and I talked about how he wanted those final hours, he had Alzheimer's and he had made a choice long before. And I said, even though we're not members of the parish, you've met Andrew, you grew up in a spiritual way, and perhaps is there any thought that you would give to inviting Andrew over? And Wayne said, I'd really like that. So that morning, and it was also the Feast of the Epiphany, which he did, and Wayne had just finished shoveling the snow so the doctor could come because we had a snowstorm. That was my husband. We being my husband, our young niece, who's now 25 and doing a session in Cape Town, South Africa, really kind of neat. And we listened to the way Andrew was able to draw out. And I thought, where is this going? Is he getting too religious, not spiritual enough? But you know what Andrew's like, right? And Andrew had him speak about what it was like to grow up in his house. And Wayne said, I have no regrets. I have been truly blessed. I had beautiful parents. And I got to hear things that in 52 years of married life, sometimes you don't have that because you don't have family around. And it was just so beautiful. And Wayne was so at peace. This is what he wanted. And then afterwards, Andrew blessed his body. And I guess it would be about a month later, I had invited Andrew to come over and bless Wayne's ashes. So it just speaks to the inclusiveness, the non-judging, the openness, okay? And that is forever treasured. And I know my spiritual soulmate, who is always with me, is probably smiling and saying, yeah, that's the way it is. So Andrew, from the bottom of my heart and Wayne's heart, and Kashmir's, our niece, I thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jewel. All right, there we go. Lovely stuff. Technology, hey? We did it with a video, but almost lost the mic. So, one other thing actually that we should mention, which I think would be important to, again, a bit of a backstory of Andrew's life, is his recent. I say recent in the last 5-10 years. This connection with the Franciscan order that Andrew's had, and this connection with Saint Francis of Assisi, and I would call it a pilgrimage to Assisi, where Andrew came back. I think with a suitcase full of the cross of Saint Francis, which many people have been given as gifts, particularly during challenging times. And there are so many layers underneath the surface of what we know of Andrew in his own personal journey with his own spiritual growth. And again, not enough time to really talk about that, but there's been an incredible connection that Andrew's had with the story of Saint Francis and how in his life he was all giving, and so if you get a chance to learn some stories about that, if you've never heard them, that's something I very much encourage you over the years. Now, is there anyone else who would like to come up? We have a couple more minutes. Do we have any other takers? Perfect, thank you.
I am not a public speaker by any means, but I would like to say I got a great son-in-law.
Thank you so much. Okay, does anyone else like to take the last slot to say something? Oh, here we go. Thank you very much.
Just very briefly, I'm Foster Freed, who was for many years the minister at Knox United Church down the street, and I was there a few years before your arrival, and you were always such a good colleague and such a good friend. One of the hymns United Church people have come to cherish is called "My Love Colors Outside the Lines," and I think one of the gifts you bring, Andrew, is you're prepared to color outside of all kinds of lines, and not all of us who are clergy are stupid enough to do that, but we're grateful that there are people like you who are willing to do that and to open doors and throw open windows and give others, including people like myself, an opportunity to explore corners of the church and corners of the world we might otherwise have overlooked. I hope you're at least as busy as I am in retirement, and I wish you and Sandy every blessing in the years ahead. Thank you.
Thank you so much. One of the things which I find quite remarkable about Andrew, which nobody probably knows about this, I think I'm going to give out a secret here, Andrew. Andrew and I have spent many hours sitting in front of the TV together over the last 10 years or so. Both big British soccer fans. But in England, there is the biggest rivalry you can imagine. It's bigger than any rivalry in Canada, although I'm sure you'll probably put me wrong with that. Liverpool versus Everton. They're two of the biggest clubs in England. They have the stadiums literally a stone's throw, and there are families that are divided in Merseyside who argue about, they've got half Liverpool, half Everton. And Andrew is a born and bred Everton supporter, and I'm a die-hard Liverpool fan. And Andrew, testament to our friendship, that over all the years we've sat and watched these games together, that we can still call ourselves friends is an absolute miracle. And I, for one, have appreciated all of the fun times and bantering about soccer for many hours. So thank you for that gift, because I'd be a pretty lonely soul over in Canada with no one to watch soccer with. So thank you, Andrew. Now I'd like to invite up one of our church wardens, actually, Joan and Betty. So please do come up, Joan and Betty. Let's give them a round of applause for all the hard work they do here as well.
Earlier today, Elizabeth Northcott, our Archdeacon, was here, and unfortunately she had to leave. She had another engagement. And she asked me to present Andrew, on behalf of the clergy of the North, a gift. So, Andrew.
Thank you. Thank you. Do I get to open it?
Yes.
Oh, right. Oh my, look at this. What a beautiful. So that you can see it, I'll put it on camera as well. Gorgeous shell and beautiful. Do not be afraid, do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. Let you read it.
It says, Dear Andrew and Sandy, many blessings to you both as you embark on this new journey. Thank you for your ministry. God bless. Your clergy colleagues from the North.
Thank you.
Also, Andrew, you'll see on the pew here a few gifts that people have brought, and there's a basket of cards here for you. And before I get back on the microphone again, Joan Mercer has a presentation.
I have a collection of things here. First of all, we have a hand-stitched mat that Elizabeth Murphy did for you of St. Anne's, and it is the picture that is on the front of the card that most of you signed that was created for you. And there's a story to this. We wanted to get you something, and the thing that we wanted to get doesn't grow well at this time of year, apparently. So we were given another suggestion and suggested that it should be something portable. And then we were really stumped. So we would like you to take this gift and get what you would like with it.
Thank you very much.
And,
I'm going to open this
yeah.
and let people see it as well. Oh my goodness. Yeah. It's beautiful. So you can all come by and see it later as well. It's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for this.
You're welcome. No, you're supposed to hand it to Aunt
Oh yeah,
Sam.
all right. Yeah. And a beautiful card, thank you.
There's
Lots
a little
of
bit
things,
of history in it.
Yeah. Lots of things for me to read, I think, in my own time, and all these beautiful signatures. So wonderful, thank you.
Okay, that's it for the formalities, and now as a finale, we're going to actually let Andrew have the microphone, which we told him he could only have once, and we're giving him 10 minutes. Andrew.
All right. Reference was made to the farewell for Bishop Remy DeRoe in Bethlehem Centre, and I was given 3 minutes. I was sitting next to Pearl, and the person in front of us took 21, and Pearl said to me, "At least I know what 3 minutes means now when it's my turn to speak." So I've already used that 1 minute apparently. I'd like to begin with the word I first learned from Chief Kimra Kalma when we were gathered in a march which was for prayer and for justice and sending loving energy towards the centers of power in the world as there was consideration of war in Iraq. And the word she gave us before we said anything was the word Inqala. In the Pentlach language, that means the moment of pause or quietness before you speak in ceremony. And it reminded me that there's a similar concept when you were speaking, Scott, about the time we had vigil for our Jewish friends at that time of a tragedy in the synagogue shooting, that there's also a psalm which could be as old as 3,000 years old. I first studied it in Hebrew in 1978 in Glasgow University in Scotland. It's a very short psalm, Psalm 131, and the verse that gives expression to that same concept of Inqala sounds like this. In English, my eyes are not raised too high. I do not occupy myself with things that are too great and too marvelous for me. And then in Hebrew, Im lo shiviti vedonom ti nafshi kegamul aleimo kagamul alai nafshi. Rather, I calm and quiet my soul like a weaned child sitting with its mother. My soul within myself is like a weaned child. So I feel this moment of quietness descending upon me and upon us. This is my today and tomorrow at 1 as we celebrate Eucharist for my last time with you as your parish priest. This is a time of conclusion, and as such, there are a lot of thoughts and feelings. All in one go, and in moment. Today, tomorrow, I speak to you for the last time. Friday is my last day officially. And 3 things happen simultaneously. And one said what we've done today, that this is a time of thanksgiving and celebration, looking back over 30 years and looking out across the community of so many heartfelt relationships. Those beautiful hugs as well that have the moment of quietness and the acknowledgement of the divine that is present all around us and within us. It's a time also of sadness, the sweet sorrow of which Shakespeare speaks, of acknowledging an ending and grieving together. And simultaneously, it is a new beginning, both for me and for you. In February, I had been struggling inside myself to come to that quiet place within my soul where it became clear to me that I needed to make a decision. And that if I walk through the door that we call retirement or refirement, and I simply take that step, it will become clear to me. This is a vision and a vocation to undertake an act, to retire, as we call it. If I do that, it will become clear to me what I need to do next. And that by doing that, I also automatically, upon the community, the parish community and the wider community, create the same invitation for you to walk through that door into your unknown future, which you can embrace a new vocation and embrace a new vision which is yours to find. And the 3 images for those 3 movements that all happen at once, they happen in one go, but actually I think we need 13 moons, you know? We need 13 moons to share the stories and the memories with celebration, to grieve together, and also to get the wings of a new beginning. And the 3 images are the ones that I gave you in my final Easter message, so they'll be up there on our parish website, along with these stories and memories for you, OneOpenCircle.Org. We have been, and I trust and know you will continue to be an open circle of welcome. The 3 images are the ones of the Holy Week, the last week of Jesus' life, which begins with palm trees. The palm tree is an image of strength in Scripture that has flexibility. It can bend with the wind. It creates shade and beautiful branches, and it creates fruitfulness right into its old age. And I invite you to live into that just as I invite myself to meditate on the image of the palm tree as our celebration of our strength as a community and as individuals. The second is we heard reference to the foot washing, to the menial tasks that we would always like to delegate to somebody else, but on which community life actually depends. It needs somebody to do the ordinary things. It needs people who will exercise leadership through servanthood as well. And Jesus gave us that image of washing one another's feet. And this is for our times of the storytelling that is not just the storytelling of grateful memories, but the storytelling that is our grieving and letting go, so that we can become something else. And Jesus lets go long before he's under the violence of the cross with arms outstretched in forgiveness. He has to reach that place in the quieting of his soul, in the enkala of his own experience as our peoples on this land for thousands of years have known. And finally, the Easter image of our local peoples is the image of transformation and the image of a new beginning, and that is the dragonfly, the symbol of resurrection, the symbol of transformation. That as we push through this chrysalis of a new reality, that we in fact can dry off our wings and spread and become something new. And just as I embrace that for myself, that dragonfly of a new potential, a new freedom to fly in a new way of being, so I invite you as parish and wider community to do the same as we let go with both joyful gratitude and sadness and tears. That as we do all of that, we also welcome the new beginning and trust deeply in that, what we call the Paschal mystery in the Christian experience, the dying and the rising again of Jesus, and what we see in nature at this time of year and beyond, that the wings spread, the flowers bloom, and we can become something new as a community, just as I can embrace a newness in community. My thanks to the wardens and council, past and present, to Joan and Betty, to Mary Ellen and Colleen most recently, and to our deputies, to Holly and our students in the office as staff, and particularly to Diane Snyder, who was my right hand for 25 years and can't be with us today, but was the heart and center of this. Thank you to those of you who've traveled great distances today. Thank you to our elected and appointed community leaders and officials for giving of your time and energy and for joining with us today. Thank you to my colleagues as clergy, ministers around the community. Thank you to Keely. Thank you. I'm so delighted my daughter Claire is able to come here, and Sheldon, her partner. Hoping to see my other kids soon as well. Thank you to my parents for putting me on the ordination track, through their support. Today is the 27th anniversary of my ordination as priest. And that's one reason we chose this day. 3 days from now it will be my 64th birthday. I think you've heard my video playing when I'm 64. It's easily accessible out there. I won't play it again. Thank you to Sandy for standing beside me in all of these challenging ways and never knowing exactly what time and will I get home on time and so forth. Thank you for giving me the space to do my work and supporting me behind the scenes. Thank you to the congregation and members of this parish who over the years, Julia, Catherine, people who've been wardens and life wardens, I hesitate to start or stop mentioning names. For everyone who I have forgotten to mention, know how much I do appreciate these beautiful words that you have given me to take away today. I have truly loved and appreciated these grounds, these buildings, these people, and all of my interactions, the seen and the unseen, the ones widely known in public, and those little quiet times where, like, I go and see George, who's 98, and we chat together in Stanford Place, and he has communion for his last time with me. All of these little things and these big things, all the ways that we have worked together, I am grateful more than words could ever say. The 13th century German mystic Meister Eckhart said these words: if the only prayer that you ever pray in your life is the 2 words, thank you, it will be enough. So let that be my closing prayer in that mystical wisdom from another time and another place. Let us pause together as a community in an enkala, a quiet space. Let us gather tomorrow in ceremony, and let us move through each of these stages together, both all at once and over a whole year, of being the strong palm tree, the foot-washing servants of one another, taking our places of humility and simplicity, and let us spread our wings to the new beginnings of a vision and a vocation that is still drawing us forward. Thank you, everyone, from the bottom of my heart, more than I can say. Thank you.
Spontaneity was always Andrew's talent, so I'm going to ask Claire to come and join us. Claire, would you mind coming up? Because I think it would only be right to finish today with a song. And I was trying to think what we could sing, and I see this banner in front of us that says Happy Retirement. And I don't think there's actually an official retirement song, but there is a song called Happy Birthday, which I think everyone knows. So, Claire, would you lead us in the Happy Retirement song to Andrew to wish him well?
Oh.
Would that be right?
You know, I actually feel compelled to speak a few words, if that's okay. Yeah, I feel so incredibly proud to have you as my dad and to have learned from you and continue to learn from you throughout my whole life. To me, your work has always been much more than just this parish, much more than just our family, and it's always been a unity consciousness, a universal consciousness. And I think everybody who knows my dad can agree he has this wonderful way of balancing a really soft bravery and a really vibrant bravery. He's soft in how he can sit in really difficult times and places with people, and he's vibrant in his singing and his outfit choices. He's soft in I love you so much. He is yeah. So this soft bravery and vibrant bravery is something that I'm going to continue forward through my life, and I think that we all can continue forward. And I'm so excited to see him move into this next stage of his life, because I know, as I said, it's so much more than just this parish and so much more, and I'm so excited to see the next steps for you. So we will sing a happy birthday. Yeah, I would love that.
Happy retirement.
Happy retirement.
Yeah, right.
Okay. Happy retirement to you. Happy retirement to you. Happy retirement, dear Andrew. Happy retirement to you.
Thank you so much, Claire. As you can see, that's why I asked Claire to come up and sing it and not me. Wonderful, beautiful voice. So Andrew, as we finish the formalities of this afternoon, there's still tea and lots of food left, folks, so please help yourself. And Andrew, I think it's only fitting that the last words we want to leave with you here is simply to go in peace.
I'll be at the door to greet everyone as you go out. It's kind of Anglican vicar thing to do.